All right. So, our first topic for today is going to be relationships. Oh, and guys, before I forget, make sure to connect with us on all our social media, especially Instagram and TikTok. Follow us on Bun and Build Podcast on all the social medias for behind the scenes, updates, and also make sure to check the website www.Fun and Build Podcast, where we will be posting the shows, but we also will be posting any fact checking that we may have been doing or any information that we would share in the show. We will have some notes there that you guys can follow along and use for your fact checking also by yourself. All right, so let's do this. So today we are covering marriage relationships. The topic for that today is going to be parenting now versus then.
So back in the day, the way things used to work is it was more of it gets dark, bring your ass back home. So, but now it's just like you track your kids or you send them text messages, where you at, what you're doing. And I guess it's more of there's a lot less freedom and you get to do whatever you want as a kid and be free. But now it's like the rules and you get angry and definitely a lot of less strict parent. Well, I guess you were strict back then, but different kind of strict. A good strict, I think. Where you got beat for being home late, or you came home with your clothes messed up or something. That's just different versus now.
Now it's very laissez-faire. I think, yeah, but I think the difference also back then versus now is also the way life and the world is. Like even when versus when I grew up versus when we raised Thai versus now, there's so much difference. And also I feel like we didn't have as much sexual predators back then as it is now. Now it's just terrible. Like if I had a child, like I would be completely scared of them growing on the outside. When we raised Thai, we were still in an era where we were in an area where everybody was your neighbors. You could leave your door open a little bit, like it wasn't such a big deal, but he played outside, like when he was little with his friends, and we don't have to check on them like every 2 seconds. He still had a little bit of that where they went missing on their bicycles and outside, but now I would never do that if I had a child today. Like you can trust that.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to go like me and my friends used to go for like miles, just biking, like getting into some trouble that we don't want to talk about.
I can see you biking.
I used to bike, believe it or not,
Not
very far.
anymore.
Yeah, we used to go to Mother Bay Beach, all over the place, just riding our bikes. It used to be great.
I think also like social media doesn't help. Like kids today live on their phone, and I think it makes you miserable. So like when we were younger, some example makes you feel like so old, but we weren't so full social media and stuff. We had like what was it, like MySpace and shit, and that was like even like a little bit older. So you didn't live on your phone, like you actually experience life. That's really
No,
what it
MySpace
is.
was older because we were probably 18, 20 maybe.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
So this even worse. And I'm not trying to give our age away. Although I guess it is what it is. But yeah, I think because we got to live your life and not everything was documented. And you don't have to do
Yes.
people recording you every time you do something. Your life wasn't on social media. Like you could make a mistake and the whole world didn't have to know about it. There were like privacy and boundaries.
Although to some degree, I wish you had it because I lost so many pictures of myself from when I was younger versus Tyreek has so many pictures of us taken from him.
Yeah, but the kids don't actually take pictures themselves. That's like the parents. We have like 20 million pictures. That's true. And our parents have whatever's printed in the albums. That's it. But other than that, I think the way, so like I wanted to keep some of the ways I was raised when I had a child, but I wanted to change a lot of things because my mom was so much older than me. And I feel like she was so disconnected and we didn't have like a close relationship. And I think a lot of parents are like that, and especially even more conservative parents, like they forget they were young once upon a time, right? So it was very important for me to like be close to my kids and have like an open relationship. So I try to put myself in his shoes. We have rules, and I think we're strict to a certain extent, but he's able to be open with me, and I'm not in the lulu. Like, parents think, oh, you're not going to start drinking until you're like 100 years old or something. We come from the Caribbean, and I was raised in France. Like, the drinking age is earlier for children. I'm not saying you need to be an alcoholic at 8 years old, but I think what we did was, for like, let's say for alcohol, we introduced him to liquor like when he was like 16. Like, it's like, do you want to taste our beer? So more like our stuff, so that by the time he went out with friends, he's not like, oh my God, I've never had liquor, let me get shit-faced drunk. Like, it's like, whatever, I already know what that tastes like. It's not that serious. I don't need to be drunk with my friends. I've already tried it out, like in a safe environment. And then in the island, I know boys especially drink a lot earlier, so it's not like a big deal, but not like he's getting drunk at family stuff and stuff like. But we introduce it, and we have a couple of friends who've done that, and I think it's so much better. Their kids, our kids don't get in trouble. It doesn't become a big thing. And then there was the be open. I don't like go crazy. Like, I remember, I'll never forget, in high school, my mom waiting outside for me because I was like 10 minutes late past the time I told her I was going to come. And my friends dropped me off, and it was the most embarrassing thing ever. And I never wanted to do that. I never wanted to be embarrassing. Obviously, we have rules and boundaries, but you also want to put yourself in the kids' shoes and give them like, a chance to be themselves and grow up too.
Yeah, I think with Tyreek, we were pretty lenient, honestly. We kind of have a good friendship relationship, which is has a pros and cons to having those friendships. Whereas like maybe because we're a bit younger compared to at least some of the parents that he has with his friends, so his friends think we're like their BFF friends. They come and just talk to us and hang out,
And share way too much.
share info, and it's just like, it's a good and a bad thing. Because sometimes the lines get blurred, like, bro, we're like, we're not the same age as you people, you know? But it's cool to some degree. Like, we went on vacation. He's 19. We were like at the same club, just having fun, doing our own thing.
We had more fun than him.
Yeah.
Because this generation is boring. But yeah. And then I think also different things is when another thing, Caribbean parents or Black parents for sure, you would never catch them apologizing they will die before they apologize to their children or say they made a mistake. And that was important for me to show him that it's okay that no matter what age or who you are, you apologize. So if I see I make a mistake since he's little, I will apologize. I'm like, oh, my bad, you're right. My mom never apologized to me. First of all, because she was probably always right. Like, she's never wrong. Rest in peace. She was amazing in many ways, but in so many ways she was a hot mess. But your parents, it's a love-hate relationships. Yeah.
As far as schooling goes, school then versus now parenting.
I think so. In my research, it says they talk about corporal punishment, which is true. I remember my mom said that when they went to school, they were allowed to the teacher beat you with like a ruler and stuff on your hands and stuff.
Yeah.
At least in the Caribbean, I don't think we did that when I went to school, but then again, we had so much more respect for the teachers. And then today it's just like a free for all. Like, there is zero respect for teachers, and I think that starts at home. It's a home problem.
Yeah, and I think the difference is too is, at least when I was in school, you would go to school, do your classes, do your work, and you would really know little to nothing about your teachers to some degree. But now it's just like everything is, I like this person, I like that person, LGBT, politics, whatever it is. It's like the teachers tend to pass on their personal beliefs onto you, besides just the fact of just I'm here to learn. Here's the classes. It becomes they want to take on the parental role and get into things that maybe you don't personally believe in. That's a part of the indoctrination of the whole thing that I don't really like about school these days. And it's a big problem with the way schooling is. Some people think it's good, some people don't. I guess it depends whether you're left or you're right. But I don't believe that school is that where they should mold you. I think the kids themselves should be able to learn it on their own pace or from at home, because at the end of the day, I think that should be a foundation is from your home and your own personal belief, not something that gets passed on. Because when you get in those kind of roles with a teacher, especially spending so much time together, they become more influential. And I think that especially the younger generation, they're very easily moldable. I couldn't even say younger generation because even in college, you see this problem now where it's their personal beliefs pass on to the kids. And I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing. Maybe it's been happening for a very long time, but I think it's a problem that's happening across all over the U.S., especially all over the world, I believe, where they're pushing certain values that would not have been there if they were never pushed.
I also think the way teachers look now is a problem.
Well, yeah,
Um, I don't know about you, but all my teachers were like old and ugly, and now some of these teachers is just like, okay, yeah, like you live at the gym, you're not supposed to look like that, and some of the outfits are a little inappropriate, but that is a different story because it's more, I guess, parenting. But I think the parents are a lot less involved
yeah,
and they consider school like a daycare. Because remember, we have a friend. She said when she was she was teaching. She tried to have parenting meetings with the parents, and then the parent was completely uninvolved. She said, "That's your problem. From this time to this time, do not call me." Like it's your child. I think you would want to know and be involved. Like no, I think there's a lot of issues at home.
Well, I think that really depends. 'Cause honestly, at least for me, my parents were never really that involved as far as my daily activities and homework. Not to say that they didn't care, but I guess they were all busy working, and it was I don't know. I think that I find the way that homework is, at least for me, is different how it is now. At least the way I was raised, my parents were never that involved in my homework per se. The biggest time they would see the changes in my work would be report card time. Other than that, it was not like a big checking of your homework. Maybe it was also a cultural thing education wise. Maybe because we're more educated
Yeah,
than previous generations. So to them, maybe them looking at my homework would be like,
they don't
nah,
understand it.
I don't understand the gibberish. You know what I mean? Because back in that time, you were is not as much schooling as it is now. The careers, the different things that they learned, if they even really reached the college, that's another thing too. Other parents then don't do college, so their their curriculum and understanding of things is a lot different from how it is today, or we are.
Yeah, that's very true.
And let's be realistic, at least for us, at when you reach a certain age, you don't remember all this stuff that was like 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, that's
So
what happened with Ty when
yeah,
we had to do homework.
at a
Some of
certain
the stuff
point,
I was like,
I was like, bro, you on your own. I can't help you anymore.
oh, we need to get a tutor because this isn't gonna work. But so back, I guess, to parenting a little bit away from schooling. Single parent homes have skyrocketed. Apparently, in the 1960s, we only had 8% of children who live in single home, and today is 25%. So yeah, like that has gone really up the wazoo. And then, oh yeah, that's Chris's favorite facts. The participation trophies, culture today. You get a medal. You get a medal. Everybody gets a
Yeah.
medal.
So my tire coming home with like the stickers and a medal, and it was like, bro, you just showed up to school. Like,
The best one was attendance. You have one job is to show up at school, bro. Like, why do we even get a certificate for attendance?
I understand the need for it, but to get a medal, that's like it's like it's like yeah, it's like going to your job and then it's like, oh, you showed up today, good job. No, bro, you're supposed to be here. Like, I'm not gonna pat you in the back because you showed up to work today. No.
Yeah, no. And then with technology, we were touching on the amount of time that kids spend on schooling. Even for us, it was so little back then compared to now. Like, this is kids today, like on TikTok, like, and parents, like, it's really bad. So I think that takes a lot from childhood, from family time, from everything. And I think parents start using it too early as a tool, as a babysitter.
One thing what it does is it helps and it doesn't help at the same time, the socialization problems that we have with kids, because it's easy to make a friend with your phone and then with a person, and then it keeps it occupied. But at the same time, that's why we have the problem today where a lot of kids, they have anxiety, they can't make friends, they can't do it with people,
Yeah, they can't socialize at
they
all.
can't socialize. A lot of guys are not even dating as much as they used to. Like when I was young, I mean, I was kind of loose, like if you want to say it that way. But these days, like guys don't date. They, never really, experimented with the, stuff.
Because they're not living in the real world.
Maybe the guys in their 20s haven't even been with a woman yet. That's a different topic, but that's not how it used to be.
No, you
At least
were
once.
losing virginities at what age back then?
I don't know. 20.
You don't want Oma to listen to this, huh?
Okay, I'm old.
And then family time has decreased, right? So, like when I was growing up, we ate dinner at the table every night at the same time, the whole family together. When Ty was growing up, we had him sitting at the table. Now I have to put sitting at the table together in my goal list for the year. But some people never have even done it. Like people don't eat dinner together. Like, and I don't know if I think it's a today thing and a cultural thing because in Europe, it's a very European thing to sit like dinner, like mealtime is like where you gather with friends, you take your time, you leave. Like it's more like a lifestyle thing. Where here, Americans are always on the go, on the go, on the go, on the go.
Well, I think now too, I think everybody has a lot of different schedules compared to Europeans. Scheduling, I think, has been different, and that's why sometimes dinners become a bit harder for some parents sometimes, or the kids. Maybe you might want to go to the gym because you came off of work. I got to go work out. So then, maybe you'll make your food quickly and then it's like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym. So then like you eat your food, but I think it's important to at least have at least once, twice, something a week to spend that time because that bonding time, it makes a big difference in the kid's life. And those little things you do now pass on to them and their kids. And then when you don't have it anymore, you're going to realize that you should have instilled that stuff because the stuff you didn't do with them, you're going to want it later in life that they do with you when you get older.
Or with their kids. Oh, well, you said that. Yeah, it's a foundation. I think it's very important.
The examples you set is what they're going to follow.
Yeah, exactly. And you brought up, the anxiety. Anxiety has soared over 20%, but that's since the thing that happened 5 years ago that we don't talk about, Bruno. Like that
China
was
virus.
that was a whole disaster. But I think, in general, parenting was a lot more strong back then, a lot more based on fear, although I still think that's still in Black and Caribbean family, but we didn't talk about it. And now today it's more like helicopter parents and don't touch the kids, or, they'll take your children for any little thing. And like everything is just like too much. There was a fact that I didn't know that I want to share because I told you when I read it, I thought it was crazy. It was about the school thing that schools now ban offensive games like tag, while past generation thrived on independence and resilience. How is tag offensive now? Like everything has become offensive. Everything has become canceled. And I think that's, you know what it is? I'm trying to say it in a polite way because I know on some channels, like we're just, in a way, we're raising soft children. Yeah. Like the kids are way too soft. And it's a big problem. Like our parents may have been a little tough on us, but I think you need to toughen. I think we should meet in the middle because there's some things that are now better, like where kids get to be more open and with their parents and with people, like where they have a voice, which I think is important because I think our parents, like, especially Black and Caribbean parents, you don't have a voice. Like, just be quiet and you're a child. Like, nobody wants to hear you. So that has changed a little bit. So I think that's good. But we can't have such weak kids. What is it that it's Tony Robbins who says weak generation builds weak times and then strong
I think you're butchering the whole thing. I know what you're talking
thing,
about.
but he has a thing. So because like it's not gonna work overall for like social life and for everything for the economy. The guys are just like everybody. We just need to bring stronger people back.
It's starting at home, honestly, too, because it starts from the dads, whether the dad's in the picture or not, is one
Back to the single family.
Single family, that could be it too. Because you need the dad to show you the good role model, how to be a strong man, not a weak guy. Now we have guys just crying on TV. Nothing wrong with crying, but you need to be crying for a reason.
Yeah, for something.
You know, you can't be having crying and feelings about, you know, the latest thing was what? Trump was being rude to Zelensky. I mean, that was not something to cry about. At least not a man. Let's be realistic. And
there was no need for him to record himself crying. For
that alone, the recording of himself
that
pouring
was a
his
bit much.
Eyes out. Like, I believe that was a whole propaganda thing, but who knows? Maybe there's guys out there who sissies like this. I'm sorry. It's just weak.
And then another thing, like just random before we close out the subject too, women are having children later on. People are getting married later too.
Yeah.
That's the next thing in families and parenting.
Birth decline, but that's another topic too, I guess.
Well, yeah, birth decline has like, that's a whole, like, I think it goes into taboo because it's a whole thing about medical and stuff. Like, that's being a big issue. So I guess that's it on parenting now and then. If you guys have any other ideas that you want to share with us on what you think is different from when you were growing up to now, please put it in the comments on wherever you're watching us and share with us.
On to the next topic.